when I think about personal branding, I think about developing the purpose-driven you for everyone to see, right? So as we dive into this, we'll talk through some of that, but it really jumps out at me that, when we think about personal branding, think about, are we purpose-driven? Are we building this purposeful approach so that when other people see us, do they understand exactly who we are and exactly what we stand for? And exactly what, as Todd said, when he had talked about product strategist, is he, right? Does that, when everybody sees him or hears about him, do they know with everything that he is a product strategist? So we'll dig into this. Before we guys do everything, I wanted to just go through a class schedule. Now, again, I put progress, not perfection, because there's only one perfect person in the world ever. And all of us are trying to progress towards that. And some will be perfect, but it won't be here. But as we go through this, moving through the actual classes that Todd and I have kind of developed, or the framework we've developed, we're going to do personal branding today. That's kind of where we start. Next week, we'll dive into networking. We have a special guest to talk to us about a platform or a system.
Hey, Gavin, you're kind of breaking up a whole bunch, man.
Okay.
Just try to make sure you're kind of really speaking closer to your mic or whatever. Maybe that'll help here, hopefully.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah, right now.
Okay. So we have basically three different pillars, as you see here. One is the starting process, one is the growing process, and one is the go process. And we'll be going through classes and topics, these different areas, so we can get you prepared to move to that next career, the next job, or whatever it is. All right. So then, from a personal brand and a digital footprint, we're going to cover what it is, who it is, where do we go with it, and how do we deliver it. And obviously, in this picture, you can see that the team, right? It's not individuals, but the team is working together to build it. All right. Does anybody have any idea who this is? This is going to be, I like interactive sessions. So through this, I will be asking questions and seeing what others might have for thoughts.
You can put it in the chat or hop off mute momentarily, and whichever helps, guys.
And that's okay. Maybe chat's best. You throw your thoughts in chats of who it is, but I'll continue on. So this first one is Scott Ventrella. He's the author of Me Incorporated. He's also written a couple of other books as well. Now, each one of these folks have developed their own personal brand. And what Scott says is a unique premise. A brand is a unique premise that consistently delivered to your target audience. So it's a unique premise that delivers to a target audience. What about this guy? He's a little unique, isn't he? This is Seth Godin. And Seth Godin is a brand expert. That's what he does. Does anybody see something unique about Seth? Does anything jump out at you?
The color of his glasses.
Right. Yellow glasses. Very good, Darren, Adrian. The reason I like Seth, not only is he an expert in his field, but he does have something that's unique and allows him to stand out. I told Todd, with Seth, I will always remember he's the guy in the yellow glasses. So no matter what he does or where he shows up, if I hear his name, I already have an image of who he is. And he says that a personal brand is the set of expectations, memories, stories, and relationships that taken together account for a consumer's decision to choose one product or service over another. And I really like that, right? Because we're all competing. You know, we may not think of ourselves as a product, or a brand, but we are. And every person that we talk to or meet with, they have a choice of, are they going to choose us or somebody else? This guy's pretty famous. I think he's done pretty well in developing his brand. Does anybody know who he is? So this is a famous guy. Anybody ever hear Tony Robbins? Tony Robbins is an inspirational speaker. He's a motivational speaker. He is the ultimate inspirer. He's all about positivity. And what Tony says is, what is a brand identity? It's your brand image is the catalyst that sparks the emotions you want your customers to experience each time they have an interaction with your brand. And it will be your North Star when you're building your brand, guiding every decision you make. And I thought that was really, really good. It really jumped out at me, was his focus on the emotions as well as the North Star. Because I think we got to start with the end in mind. And if we start with a North Star, we can start to build towards that. But if we don't really have a North Star, do we know where we're going? Right? Do we know how we're going to get there? All right, and then I think everybody knows who this is, right? Good old Oprah Winfrey, the Oprah Show. Oprah's had many, many iterations on what her brand is. And here she's actually giving a speech to a graduating class in the university. And in short, she says, the difference between a brand is the difference between who are you and thank you for being here in your career. And I thought that was really an interesting spin on it. Now, that's not her whole definition of what a brand is, but what I really liked about what she said is, who are you, right? Do you know who you are and who you will be? But then on top of that, it's more about thank you for being here. And that resonated with me because it talks about what have you done? How, when you leave a person or you leave a company, you know, are they thanking you for being there? Have you made a positive impact? Right? What have you done to bring good into the role or the company? So I think when you think about your personal brand, you know, you got to be thinking that far ahead, just as you're going through your career. And then the last one I don't have a picture of, but I also was reading an article from Northeastern University, and there's a doctor, a PhD, a doctor who actually teaches on personal brand there. His name is Dr. Sean Gresh, and he says a personal brand, it's who you are, what you stand for, the values you embrace, the way in which you express those values, helping to communicate a unique identity and clear value to potential employers. In the end, he says personal branding is one story. And what jumped out at me with what he said and wanted me to include this is he talks about having a unique identity, right? It's what is your identity in? And part of having identity will help you create your brand. And then we all know you're building your story. So as you start to build your personal brand, there's a couple of things that come into play here. One is, how do you see yourself? And the second is, how do others see you? So everybody's going to look in the mirror, correct? And you actually see a reflection of yourself. right? You can see I can see all my facial features. I can see the gray hair in my goatee. Many of you may not be able to see that right now, but I sure can see that every time. I can see the little wrinkles on my face. That's what I see. But then when I go out and I walk around, somebody else is going to pick up on something different. I usually get, hey, look how shiny your head is. It's usually first. So I appreciate all the bald guys in the world because they understand it. But yeah, it's what do other people see? And then the combination of those two things end up becoming your personal brand. So the first picture, right? Here's what he may see of himself, James Bond, right? He's a iconic figure. He's macho. He's he's a thrill seeker. He's a ladies' man. That's what he sees in himself. But then the world might see him as this other feature, this other individual. I don't remember who this is. The next picture, obviously, is again throw the cat in there. You know, the one on the picture on the left. Here's a very gentle kitty that is very approachable. That I would go to pet, maybe want to have as a pet. And then obviously the audience or my customer or whoever may see me as a growling, attacking, ferocious lion, if you will. So you actually would have, you have the audience looking at you a completely different way than how you perceive yourself. All right, and then how do you? The reason I show those pictures is it's really important to validate your perceived value, right? You should be asking other folks, what do they see in you? You know, what are your qualities? What is your value? Your opinion may be that you're a great communicator, where somebody else might say that you're a very quiet person. They may say that you may say I have strong leadership, and others' perceptions that you don't lead at all and you're not very organized. And you may say that I'm a financial expert, but another person says that you're great at operations and you're not very good at finance. And such as a team player, and somebody else may say you're a loner. So it's very important in developing your personal brand that you validate your perceived value and you ask others' opinions of what you're good at. So as you're validating your perceived value, the first thing that we want to create in a personal brand is your UVP. This is your unique value proposition. This is the unique value proposition should be your information that's concise, straight to the point about the benefits you offer to a customer. In other words, it's an explanation of what makes you different. A personal brand is a unique combination of skills and experiences that make you who you are. It is how you present yourself to the world, and an effective personal brand will actually start with a really, really good, unique value proposition. Right? And as we develop the unique value proposition, we focus on the unique piece. It's what differentiates you. What are you better than somebody out at? How would you solve a problem different than somebody else? Do you like different foods? Do you use a different software system? How do you carry yourself? Is your approach direct, or is it a soft approach? Whatever makes you different, whatever differentiates you is what you want to focus on. And then keeping everything consistent. Being consistent with your messaging, with how you promote yourself. just the consistency across your brand. Could be even colors, could be pictures, could be images. Everything that you present or you create for yourself should be consistent. One of my favorite, this is from one of my favorite book authors. I read a lot of these when I was a child, and I think they're very inspirational, and they also still tell a very good story to this day. And this obviously is be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. And what I really liked about this is those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. You really want to focus in building your personal brand, being genuine, being true to who you are. And if you are true to who you are and say the things that you feel and you're honest, those folks that don't really care about that stuff, they don't matter. They shouldn't matter in your life. But those folks that will actually understand who you are and how you approach a situation, they're the folks that will matter. And for example, earlier in my career, I tried to be I was trying to promote myself as a very aggressive, not aggressive, but a salesperson that didn't mind being on the phone all the time. Well, I would call it like smile and dial salesperson. It was a high volume, high touch type sales environment. And I did that a few times. And what I learned is it just wasn't for me. I struggled with it over and over again. And at a point in my life, about 9 or 10 years ago, I decided that I wasn't going to be that person. I knew who I wasn't going to be. And in certain circumstances, I communicated that. It resulted in me not getting a couple of jobs when I was interviewing at one point, because I spoke who I was, I spoke who I wasn't, and what the person was looking for was not who I was. It's who I was before, but it wasn't who I was going to be. And then another great book by Dr. Seuss is One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish. When we talk about a personal brand, that again, we go back to being unique. Dr. Seuss is very much about creating unique characters and how they're valuable. And in One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, there's different characters in the book that are unique. There are Zans that are very good at opening cans because they have antelopes or antlers. And there's a Yop who hops from finger top to finger top. And again, this is far-fetched examples, but hopefully you get the idea that what I'm trying to point out here is when you're developing your personal brand, you really need to talk about what differentiates you and what makes you special. So you want to define your value. We want to talk about transferable skills, right? Do you have something in one industry that could be transferred to another industry? You may be great at developing software, but do you also develop the tools that take to develop software may also be used in architecting a solution? So can you take the skills that you have and transfer them to a different industry? And what value do your skills provide? Do you understand what the value is and how those skills offer the value? And most importantly, it's what are your top 2 or 3 core skills or gifts? You want to look into these: personal, functional, and technical. And in a recent article that I was reading, or a couple of different articles from Forbes and Northeastern, I thought these were 9 very good points as you're developing your brand to focus on. We talk about being genuine, right? Are you kind to folks? Being consistent, we've shared that before. Are you ready to fail? I think number 3 is very critical, because as we actually go through a job search or looking at a new career, we need to be ready to fail. We may need to have 10 interviews before we actually get the next job or get a yes. Are you willing to try something in a job and take a risk on it so that you can learn and it helps you grow to grow a new skill? Creating a positive community is very important. How do people view you? Are you a nice person? Are you an angry person? Do you do right by people, or do you always ask? Number 5, following a successful example. It's very important when you're building your brand to choose somebody that has already been successful in that. Maybe it's a consultant. Maybe it's a career coach. Maybe it's a professor. Maybe it's a manager that you really value. Whoever it is, the most important thing is to get to know them, get to know what their style is, get to know what's made them successful. And in this point, I think in developing the personal brand, you have to do research. And picking a successful example is really important, so that you can reach out to them and ask them for informational interview, or maybe a coffee, and just start asking them questions. How are you successful? What tools did you have to learn? What steps or training did you go through? And as you learn that, then you can determine what steps you need to do as you develop your brand. And then living your brand. What are you known for in your house? Right? What you do in your house, is it the same thing that you do when you go out in public? How do you treat people when you're driving to work? How do you treat people when you're actually in the office? How about when you're in the line at the grocery store? How do you treat the cashier? These are all things that really promote your brand. And so living your brand every day and everything you do is really important. And as you do this, and as you meet with folks, and you have coffees, and you do informational interviews, or you make an impact for somebody by serving them well, they will start to tell your story. So it's important to live your brand, influence other people, and then that will give them the opportunity to start promoting and telling the story. Your brand isn't just online either, it's everywhere. It could be online, it could be on the phone, it could be in the coffee shop. Everything what we've been talking about, it's not just online. And in the end, the question you got to ask yourself is, how are you going to leave a legacy? What things are you going to do to leave a legacy? How are people going to remember you? There's a great song that I love to listen to. And in it, it says that you die twice. You die once when you leave this earth, and you die a second time when somebody stops mentioning your name. Leaving a legacy is that, right? It's how does your name be carried on? What have you done, and what impact have you made in the world? And how are people remembering you? All these things, as you start to kind of build in all these things, you'll start to create your brand. Now, I don't know if all of you are Flash fans. I'm a Flash fan. My son is rewatching the Netflix series, I think for the 6th time. And the one thing I like about the character is he was given a power that he had to learn how to use, and he had to create a brand for himself And Captain Cold is one of his enemies. And Captain Cold tells Barry Allen, he says, there's 4 things to remember, Barry, whenever you go into solve a problem or you go into a battle or you go into a challenging situation. He says, you've got to make the plan. You've got to execute the plan. You've got to expect the plan to go off the rails. And then the number 4, where, I may not agree completely, is you got to throw away the plan. And I think I wanted to hit on number 2. So when you are looking at, you make the plan, I think that's the easy piece for some. It's putting the plan in place. What do I need to do? Who do I need to call? Who are my customers I'm going to target? How am I going to go after those customers or those folks? So putting the plan in place, writing it all down is one thing. The second part, I think we all tend to maybe not do as well, especially in a job or a career search, is executing the plan. It's what steps are you taking to make sure you accomplish your goals in the plan? If you have your North Star and you need to do step 1 through 10 to get to your North Star, are you executing every step? I know in certain cases and folks that I've coached, they put together a plan, but by week 2, they've stopped getting up in the morning at 8 o'clock. They've stopped making 20 calls. They've stopped going and having conversations with folks. They've stopped looking at targeting certain companies. So it's really important as you are starting to look at deploying your brand, is executing the plan. And then always expect the plan are going to go off the rails. There's data set that really talks about 80% plus or minus of the plans that are made never follow through to completion. And what I mean by that is the plan that was developed initially shifted. We hear this a lot in developing software. There's a lot of people that when they start to build a product or software, it ends up becoming shelfware. They built something according to the plan, but unfortunately the customer changed direction halfway through. And what the developer built didn't meet the end goal of the customer, because halfway through the customer said, hey, we don't want this feature. Our business has shifted and now we need this. So expect the plan as you build your plan for your personal brand, expect that it's going to change. And you've just got to you've got to adapt and be flexible to it. And then throw away the plan. That's, you may need to start over. Maybe your first plan you write is not the right approach. So you have to throw that away and start over. And then you just start from 1 and go through 4. And as you build your plan, a key part of that is, do you know who your customer is? Do you know what you're targeting? As I said earlier, in my situation, I was going after sales jobs that required folks to smile and dial. It wasn't until later in my life that I realized that wasn't the target for me. That's not what fit me. And then once I sat down with my wife and we sat down and we listed out, a top 10 list of what's really important. Once I did that, then I really understood, what was I targeting? What kind of companies am I looking at? What's the mission of that company? What are the values? Where am I looking to commute? Am I able and willing to commute for, an hour? Or is my commute tolerance 10 minutes? So I always say, in building this target and kind of refining that piece that fits in that, you should sit with somebody that's significant in your life, and you should create a top 10 list. And the 10 list would include values, your mission, your maybe a location and commute, could be compensation, could be how quickly you need to make a move. What is your growth plan? Where do you want to go with your career? And once you have this top 10 list, now you can kind of shift from being reactive to proactive with your brand. So then where do we go? We talk about, you know, unique, creating a brand, being unique, being different, being consistent, crafting that message. We talk about building a plan, kind of where do we go? What are we going to do? How are we going to execute it? Now let's talk about where do we deliver the information, the content. This is kind of as you build your plan, this is your digital footprint. These are the places that, you know, are very powerful, and they're kind of the mainstream approach of how you will promote yourself and your personal brand. I think everybody knows LinkedIn. We have LinkedIn, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we've got Instagram, Google Plus. Does anybody on TikTok? Or Pinterest?
I'm on Pinterest. I've looked at some of the videos on TikTok, but I don't think I'm going to subscribe based on what I've seen.
I put TikTok, thank you on that. I put TikTok out there because it's the new craze. My wife's on TikTok. Both my boys are on TikTok. You know, a lot of people are on TikTok. Now, do I recommend you jump into TikTok and start promoting videos? Depending on what you're trying to accomplish. If you're a dancer, TikTok's a great place. If you're a musician, it is. If you're a magician, it is. But if you're looking to, you know, if you're maybe a logistics person, maybe TikTok's not the right channel for you. You know, what we're seeing in industry though, in the recruiting industry, is that we're actually using these channels to help identify different backgrounds. You know, the younger generation, they're all on Snapchat. You know, they're all starting to use TikTok. They're all using Instagram. So from a recruiting perspective, part of our recruiting strategy is going to these places and promoting a little bit about our company. And hopefully we'll achieve followers. Because as you build your brand, the most important thing is the community you're going to build and the followers you're going to get. These are just some of the channels. They're not all. You just got to determine, based on your personal brand, which channels are right for you. And then once you build the brand and you're starting to communicate it through the channels, right? The question is, what's the reaction? What's the reaction you're getting? Are people giving you smiley emojis? Are they giving you a thumbs up? Do they love you? Give you a little heart, right? I think that's always a positive one. Creates a good emotion. But what are you getting with what you're putting out there, and how are people reacting to it? When we look at the channels we talked about before, the social media channels, 94% of folks on LinkedIn use it as a job board and a profile database. You know, companies use it as a profile database, and a lot of individuals use it as now a job board. Didn't start out that way, but it evolved. Facebook, 66% of the people on Facebook use it to showcase their brand and post jobs. And Twitter, 52% of people that are on Twitter use it to showcase a brand and to post jobs. But all of those are used as sources to vet candidates and to find talented people. So what message are you conveying across all of these channels? And are you actually on all of these channels? Or are you just on one? Or are you on none? Is it not part of your plan? Because in today's day and age, it needs to be part of your plan. In order to connect with the folks you need to be out in the social environment. And then this was posted on Facebook a month ago. They announced their second quarter results, right? 2 billion people are on Facebook each month. 100 million are members of meaningful groups versus 250 million people use stories on Instagram each day. 2 billion messages are sent. And I believe that's the WhatsApp image. Tells you how old I am because I don't necessarily use it. It's 250 million users are putting statuses out there every day. Obviously, you can see at the bottom, there was 1,900 likes. So of the 2 billion people, only 1,900 people like that for Mark. And we had some comments. But again, when I pull this slide up, when you think about your personal brand, do you know the impact each social channel will have for you? And I think data like this, if you collect data, you can start to build a more targeted plan for your personal brand. And then we talked about the personal brands. And again, how are you communicating? What are you saying? Right? We have this guy on the left, he's on top of a building, right? How is he reaching his customer base? Does people hear him? Obviously, if I saw a guy with that type of microphone on the top of a building, he would create a memory. Not sure it'd be a positive one. Are we still sending resumes out to companies, right? To promote our brand? And then I love the young dude, the young boy over here. You know, he's starting early, right? He's probably yelling to his parents, "Can I have mac and cheese today?" But what message is he creating? I mean, I'd probably hire this kid because he looks good, right? He's sharp, he's well dressed, he's sitting upright. So what kind of message do you convey? Right? So then when we start to promote our brand on online, what does our picture look like? Right? Based on the picture I see here, you know, unfortunately there's a bias that happens. Am I going to hire this individual? What message is he conveying to me, he or she, right? So if I was looking to hire a rock band person, maybe I would talk to him. So that's the image I get. And then I think we know this guy, right? I think Todd has done a really good job with his brand. He's got a really good picture. His header picture at the top is him actually presenting, and there's a lot of emotion in the room, right? He's smiling. The guy that he's looking at has a positive look on his face. Again, you know, Todd is a product strategist. He's an executive coach. He's a speaker. He's an author. I get a very clear picture of who he is. Right? And he also has his website on his top of his page on LinkedIn. Reach Me Global. It's in his email. It's everywhere. Here are a couple of other good, positive, I guess you could look at it positive or negative. This Adler Calhoun, right? She pronounces that she's passed the Georgia bar, right? And she's actually promoting herself, right? As an attorney. But what really jumps out at me on this one is if you look at the bottom, she has 92,000 responses and 9,500 comments. Now, we don't know what those comments are. We haven't picked them up. You can make your own assumptions what those are, whether positive or not. But she's gotten a lot of attention. Is it the right attention? I don't know. That's for the person who's interested in this, has to make a decision. But obviously, she has picked a certain look. She has picked a certain industry. She knows who she's going to be based on this. And then another gentleman I follow is Lou Adler. Lou posts, I think he posts every day. Sometimes he posts couple of times a day. On this one for Lou, what jumps out at you? Anybody? Well, for me,
The diverse group of people.
Say that again?
The diverse group of people.
Right? Yeah. Diverse group of people.
Lou's not in it.
Lou is not in it. You still have his picture though. He also includes a lot of taglines or a lot of hashtags, right? Using hashtags to draw relationships, to promote things that like tie into your brand, right? Lou is all about interviewing, diversity. You know, I don't know what Q12 is, but Gallup, Amazon, right? He's anybody that searches for these names on LinkedIn may come up on this. So are you using as you're promoting your brand, are you using specific, tools to really drive and increase your brand, increase your exposure to more folks by using hashtags that will help increase your brand and increase your reach? And then I've got Darren said a good suggestion he was given was create professional social media accounts and link them to your LinkedIn and each other. Keep them professional and active. So when companies go searching for you, they find what you want them to. Right? I think image is key here as well. Are you creating the right image for what you're trying to accomplish? And then we also have hashtags, as Todd says, yeah, hashtags should connect with keywords. What are your keywords on your resume? What are the keywords that you're looking for in your career? Are you looking for management? Are you looking for developer? Are you looking for a place that is mission driven? So what are you looking for? I know I'm running a little bit over, so I'm going to move a little bit quicker through the rest of the slides. So here's a what not to do. Right? So here's a post that came out. This CAM person received a notification from this recruiter. Now, if this recruiter is trying to create a brand for themselves, they did not communicate it very well, right? Hi, first name. Didn't even include the first name of the person, right? Did they look at the background of the individual when they reached out? I have folks in my industry that just blast people. I'm sure, has anybody here ever received a notification on LinkedIn about a job that you have no relevance in or no experience in? Darren says too often. I'm sure everybody has received something. I know I recently was asked, said that I would be a great fit as a Microsoft solution architect. Now, I did work for Microsoft, a Microsoft partner, for 1 year back in 2000 and I think it was 2010. But, right, did they really look into my background? Do they know what my brand is? Do they know what my focus is? So be targeted. This is the messaging of how do you what not to do. Make sure that you're targeted. Make sure that you use people's names. Make sure that you know who your audience is and you're actually speaking, tailoring your messaging to the audience. That transitions us into knowing your audience, right? When you look at these 3 different pictures, who is your audience? Would you communicate the same way to Poison if you wanted to go get a job with Poison as you would with the guys in the middle? I don't even know if I would go after the guys in the middle. They look pretty scary to me. And then the picture on the left, you know, they're a bunch of gamers. They're playing video games, right? If I'm a software developer for gaming or I like gaming, that might be my target audience because I can relate. So part of your personal brand is also knowing your audience, and do you know how to relate to them? And then communicate. I like these two examples in terms of helping to build the brand again and communicating the brand. One is collecting what I call an inventory accomplishment sheet, or an IAS. And this basically are examples of your accomplishments that may result in, you know, people, process, or products. But keeping an ongoing sheet when you complete a project, when you deliver a new improvement, when you help somebody out and you were recognized, or somebody gave you a good recognition, write that down. Keep that on this inventory accomplishment sheet, because as you move into your next career or your next job, now you have almost like a database to go back to. And when you're communicating your brand or your messaging, you want to do it in a couple of different ways: PAR or SAR. You want to use a problem, action, result. So that's the PAR, or a situation, action, result. You can describe every situation or every accomplishment in this sequence, and these will become your power stories. We talked a little bit about Flash. My son has watched Flash for the Flash episodes for 6 times. We referenced him earlier. What I like about Flash is he's very kind, he's genuine, he's consistent, he's fast. He's always solving problems, right, for the city. So what is his power statement? What's his PAR? Obviously, every problem he's faced, what action did he take, and what results did he achieve? Now, I know in this situation, in the episodes of Flash, there's many times where he goes into a situation to attack a bad guy that he's not successful with the first time. He comes back, he reviews with the team what he did wrong. They have to determine a different approach, and then they go back and attack him the second time. Now, usually in many cases, he wins the second time, but you know, this is that trial and error. Try something, you might fail at it, come back, try it again. But according to Flash, there's always another way to approach it. And then just some things to think about when you're building when you're communicating your brand. Are you describing your value? Are you using quality and metrics? Do you have a proven track record that you can speak to? Do you have the industry experience, maybe education and leadership in that area? And really, one of the other pieces, and this leads us to community, what do others say about you? What are your recommendations on LinkedIn? If somebody, I, as a recruiter, when I get a resume, if I know somebody that knows them, the first thing I do is call that person. Hey, what can you tell me about this person? Should I hire them or not? Tell me a little bit about who they are, right? What are their strengths and weaknesses? I'm doing my assessment on an individual before I even decide to interview them. So recommendations are really key. I live by the adage of never burn a bridge. There are folks that in my walk that did me wrong, that didn't treat me right, but I never said anything negative about them. I always kept it on the up and up, because you never know when that bridge is going to come back around and you're going to need it. Obviously, as I put a little picture down there, two of my favorite athletes, Tom Brady and Michael Jordan, right? What are their metrics? Do they have proven track records? Obviously, they're industry experts in their field. And what do other people say about them? Obviously, I know not everybody says good things about either one of them because people don't like them, right? But very successful in their walks. So as we close and review, it's a personal brand. It's what you see versus the world sees. Your unique value proposition: red fish, blue fish, one fish, two fish. Be your authentic self. Be genuine. Plan and develop your targets. Know your channels in that plan. Where are you going to go? Your messaging. Make sure that you kind of compare good versus bad, and then just communicate. And then as we do, before we break out into our groups, as we would do, we on the website, what's really important to us, Todd led with prayer, is that we want to pray for you. We want folks to share their prayers, and you can do that by scanning this QR code, or you can go to our website and fill out a form. But whether you want to leave it anonymous or be specific, we will be praying for you through the week. We have folks that do that. And we also want you to share praise reports, because it's not all about just prayer and what you need from the Lord, but it's also giving back to him. The Lord says he loves to hear our voice and us worship him, sing praise to him. So let's do that too. So you can do that on our website or here. Todd, do you have anything else before we break out?
Nope. No, thanks, Kevin. That was awesome. Sorry, I was only gone for a little while.
That's all right. So right now, what we'll do is, what do we have? 8?
Yes. No, maybe 12, actually.
Okay, great. So what we'll do is we will break out and what I would think that we would do is break out maybe into groups of, if we've got 12, we could do 2 groups of 6. Actually, what might be better is 3 groups of 4. And what we'll do is, in the breakout session, it's the time to build our community. It's to get to know each other, to see how we can help each other. And you may find an accountability partner there, somebody that you will kind of walk through, maybe if you're in a job search, maybe you're walking through your job together. Maybe it's a person that you can partner with to help build your brand, and you guys can partner together on that. It's always important to have an accountability partner. And what I'd like to do from a call to action is, during this breakout session, is share your personal brand and pitch with the group. You may not have something crafted right now, but like when Adrian introduced himself, go ahead and share your story or your brand and your pitch with the group. And then the others in the group can give their opinions and share. So I'm going to go ahead and break us out.
Actually, I am.
And go ahead.
Actually, I am. I pulled host
Oh,
back. I have it
great.
set up.
Well,
You ready?
yep. So let's go ahead and break out. And I just appreciate everybody participating in the session today. Completely, I very much apologize for the sound difficulty. We'll resolve that for future.
Well, hey guys, sorry, I know we ran just a little over today, but really enjoyed having you. Hopefully you guys had some really good community. There's a lot of other good clubs in town. Darren was just sharing with us at the end about Hired Texas having an informational interviewing presentation tomorrow. So, if that's the kind of thing that would be helpful to you for your next step, go look into that. But otherwise, we're going to get out here shortly the full list over the next several weeks, so you guys can kind of know what's coming. And we really appreciate you guys coming. Kevin, where you at, buddy? Do you want to close us in prayer real quick?
Yeah, I'll close this in prayer, and just want to again just say thanks for everybody joining. Apologize about the technical difficulties. So another example of what not to do. But appreciate it. Hopefully everybody walked away with a nugget or two that they can start to implement. So appreciate it all. All right. Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to create such a great community. Lord, thank you for using us. Thank you for allowing us to know what we stand for. Lord, we give you praise for all the folks that we will touch, everybody that's participating in Fellowship Career Network, Lord. I ask that you speak with each individual. You share with them the nuggets that make them who they are. Lord, you are the creator. You made us unique. Every hair on each one of our heads is different from another individual. You never made two people exactly the same. So, Lord, as we go from here, please speak into the members, the participants, the individuals that need to hear your voice of what makes them unique, what will be their brand, how they will impact the world, how they will live for you, bring glory to you in everything they do. Lord, we thank you for what you've already done, what you created up to this point, our paths and our journeys, and we look forward to what you have in store for us. Bring light to our path, and let us continue to just deliver the good works for you. Lord, be with everybody and keep them safe during this COVID time, during the riots, during anything that is going on negatively. Heal those that are sick, and Lord, let us just relish in your love, your unconditional love. We thank you for everything you do, and we lift this up in your son's name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Hey,
guys,
thanks everybody.
Yeah, thank y'all so
Appreciate
much.
you.
And yeah, if y'all, also do us a favor, if you know other people, a lot of times people that are, out of work or looking for work or considering finding new work, or also finding a lot of other people in the same boat. And we're happy to have, people come and serve. So, share the word, get it out for us. We'd really appreciate it. So
yeah,
thank y'all so much.
Absolutely. And honestly, the last thing I would leave is feedback. Send Todd and I feedback. Let us know what's working, what's not. Obviously technical, we know what issues we had today. I'll work on resolving that, but anything that you can provide, as well as things you want to see, right? We have a class list. We're thinking about how do we make this so there's value for every person. So feedback would be extremely valuable.
Yeah. And that'd be great. And in fact, you'll get an email from us that'll have a little link to the feedback form. So that's just an easy way to provide it. So we'd appreciate that for sure.
All right.
Okay, guys.
Quick question, guys. Is the presentation going to be available on the website or?
Yes. Give me about a day to kind of clean it up and stuff. And we have the one from last week already out on the blog and out on YouTube. And so we'll have the one from tonight too, once I chop it up. So probably tomorrow, late tomorrow, we'll have it out there.
Perfect. Thank you.
When we get some more sophisticated, we might simulcast them, but we're not quite that sophisticated yet.
Don't get crazy.
We could do it actually, but we're not going to do it yet. But eventually we might do that, but we'll see. But anyway, thank y'all again, everybody. We really appreciate you guys, and let us know how we can serve you.
Hey, Todd, quick thing. This is Miguel. I just want to say to Kevin, I know you had difficulties. This is Miguel. Hey, Kevin, I know you had difficulties. I was in a training 2 weeks ago with Todd knows him, Brendan Richard, world's #1 like in this stuff. And he had like 500 people on the Zoom, and he had issues, right, himself, right, on this. So this is your guys' second meeting, right? And I don't know how I came across this link from Todd, right? And I'm like, God's working through these guys, and I joined today. I feel like so blessed to be here, right? Just a group of people, just Christians, around here. So keep doing what you guys are doing. Like, don't feel bad at all. A guy who charges $1 million for a few hours has issues like you. Okay, so you're good. All right.
Well, thanks, Miguel. That means a lot. That means a lot.
I mean it. Someone that prepares for years, for that one meeting has issues, so you can have them too. All right, take care, guys. Sorry about that.
Stay on a second, Miguel. I want to chat with you, buddy. We haven't talked in a long time.
All right, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Till next time.
This is Todd Boyum, and we hope you enjoyed this presentation of Fellowship Career Network. We meet every Monday evening from 6:30 to 8 p.m., and we hope you'll join us soon. To register and receive the Zoom link in your email, simply go to fellowshipcareernetwork.com today.